Have you ever wondered what makes Yellowstone National Park so incredibly unique? It's not just the geysers or the wildlife, but something much deeper, literally. Today, we're diving beneath the surface to explore the powerful forces that have shaped this iconic landscape for millions of years. We're talking about the interplay of heat and habitat, the dynamic geology that makes Yellowstone a living, breathing marvel. Yellowstone sits on top of a massive volcanic hotspot, a colossal plume of molten rock rising from deep within the Earth's mantle. This isn't your typical volcano with a cone-shaped mountain. Instead, it's a supervolcano, a system so vast, its caldera, the giant crater left behind by past eruptions, covers a huge portion of the park. The last cataclysmic eruption happened about 640,000 years ago, and while we're not expecting another one anytime soon, the heat from that underground magma chamber is the engine driving everything we see on the surface. This immense heat is what powers Yellowstone's famous geothermal features. Think of it like a giant plumbing system. Rain and snowmelt seep deep into the ground through cracks and fissures in the rock. As the water gets closer to the magma chamber, it gets superheated, well above the boiling point. But because of the immense pressure from the rock above, it stays in a liquid state. This superheated water is less dense than the cooler water above it, so it begins to rise, creating a continuous circulation system. When this hot water finds a path to the surface, we get to witness the spectacular displays Yellowstone is known for. Geysers, like the legendary Old Faithful, are the most dramatic result. They occur when the plumbing system has a constriction, like a narrow spot in a hose. The superheated water gets trapped, pressure builds up, and eventually, the pressure becomes so great that it blasts a column of steam and water high into the air. Each geyser has its own unique plumbing, which is why they have different eruption patterns and intervals. Old Faithful is famous for its relative predictability, but many others are far more erratic. But it's not just geysers. You also have hot springs, like the breathtaking Grand Prismatic Spring. Here, the hot water rises to the surface unimpeded, creating pools of stunningly clear, hot water. The vibrant colors you see are not from minerals in the water, but from vast colonies of heat-loving microorganisms called thermophiles. Different types of these microbes thrive at different temperatures, creating those beautiful concentric rings of color. The hottest water in the center is often a deep blue, and as the water cools towards the edges, you see greens, yellows, oranges, and reds. It's a living painting, created by life that has adapted to extreme conditions. Then there are the mudpots and fumaroles. Mudpots are acidic hot springs with a limited water supply. The hot, acidic water dissolves the surrounding rock into clay and mud, creating a bubbling, gurgling cauldron. The plopping sounds they make are from steam and gas bubbles rising through the thick mud. Fumaroles, on the other hand, are steam vents. They happen when the water table is so low that the water boils into steam before it even reaches the surface. You're essentially seeing the hot breath of the volcano itself, hissing as it escapes from cracks in the earth. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. This intense geothermal activity doesn't just create tourist attractions, it profoundly shapes the entire ecosystem. The heat from the ground influences everything from the soil chemistry to the types of plants that can grow. In some areas, the ground is too hot or the soil is too acidic for most trees to survive, creating what are called thermal barrens. But even here, life finds a way. Specialized grasses and wildflowers have adapted to these harsh conditions, creating unique microhabitats. The geothermal features also provide a crucial lifeline for wildlife, especially during the harsh Yellowstone winters. When the rest of the park is buried under deep snow, the areas around geysers and hot springs remain warm and snow-free. Rivers heated by thermal runoff, like the Firehole and Madison rivers, rarely freeze over completely. This creates a vital winter refuge for animals. Bison, with their massive bodies, can often be seen gathered near thermal areas, using the steam to stay warm and foraging on the plants that grow in the heated ground. They know exactly where to go to escape the bitter cold. Waterfowl, like trumpeter swans and ducks, also flock to these thermally influenced rivers, while other lakes and streams are frozen solid. These waterways provide open water for them to feed and rest throughout the winter. Even predators like coyotes and wolves are drawn to these areas, not for the warmth itself, but because their prey is concentrated there. The geology and the biology are completely intertwined. Furthermore, the minerals brought to the surface by the hot water enrich the soil in surrounding areas. This can influence the types of forests that grow nearby. Lodgepole pines, for example, are incredibly resilient and dominate much of Yellowstone. Their life cycle is even tied to the park's fiery nature. Their cones are ceratinous, meaning they are sealed with resin and require the intense heat of a wildfire to open and release their seeds. So, the same internal heat that drives the geysers indirectly contributes to the cycle of forest renewal through fire. Let's also talk about the landscape itself. The massive eruptions of the past didn't just leave a crater. They blanketed the region in thick layers of volcanic tuff and lava flows. These rock layers are what the Yellowstone River has been carving through for millennia to create the spectacular Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. The canyon's steep yellow-tinged walls, which is where Yellowstone gets its name, are made of rhyolite rock that has been chemically altered and cooked by the hot water and steam from the thermal system. The minerals in the rock have been oxidized, essentially rusted, creating those vibrant shades of yellow, pink, and orange. The two powerful waterfalls, the Upper and Lower Falls, are the dramatic centerpieces of this geological masterpiece. So, when you visit Yellowstone, you're not just looking at isolated wonders. You're witnessing a single, vast, interconnected system. The heat from a deep-seated magma chamber boils water, which erupts as geysers pools into colorful hot springs and steams from the ground. This thermal energy keeps the ground warm, allowing animals to survive the winter and influencing where plants can grow. It alters the very rock itself, which is then carved by rivers to create breathtaking canyons and waterfalls. Everything is linked. The bison warming themselves in the steam of a geyser, the colorful microbes in Grand Prismatic Spring, the lodgepole pines waiting for a fire, and the stunning colors of the canyon walls, they are all part of the same grand geological story. It's a story of immense heat, constant change, and incredible adaptation. Yellowstone isn't a static park. It's a dynamic, living laboratory that offers us a rare glimpse into the powerful forces that shape our planet. Understanding this deep connection between heat and habitat gives you a whole new appreciation for the park. It's a reminder that the beauty we see on the surface is just one part of a much larger, more powerful, and more fascinating story that's been unfolding for millions of years. Next time you see Old Faithful erupt, remember the incredible journey that water took from the surface down to the Earth's fiery heart and back again. It's truly one of the greatest shows on Earth. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into Yellowstone's geology. If you found this as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the science of our amazing world. Let me know in the comments what part of Yellowstone's geology fascinates you the most. See you next time.